Hi guys, Ina and Sasha here for another episode of Nerding Out with Sasha. Today we are in our LA showroom and I want to talk about a topic that I know is near and dear to your heart, Sasha, and that is the wheels.
All right.
Why so much love? I never really understood that.
Recently, I was talking to my brother about it, and he said wheels are just as important for a car as a snare drum would be for a metal album. So, yeah, there is some similarity. It's kind of what makes or breaks the design, but it's also hugely functional and very relevant for performance. So, kind of like everything intersects with and around the rims, with and around the wheels.
And is that more about the size of the rim itself?
Yeah, it's the size, it's the position of the wheel within the body, it's the proportions of the body in relation to the wheel, and it's not necessarily the bigger the better or the more the better. Like with everything else, there's a fine balance, kind of a narrow pathway to walk. Um, Very, very important both for performance and for aesthetics.
Okay, so let's look at the NILU specifically. I think there's a lot of hidden design elements that are not necessarily obvious right away when you look at our rims. So there's a lot of holes that we have that I'd like to talk about, or a lot of bits that have been taken out
Yes.
to, I guess, to minimize the weight.
Definitely to minimize the weight. I mean, I've gone kind of a full circle with rim designs throughout my career, making rims visually more exciting, more elaborate, creating an opportunity space to kind of flex my design muscles and come up with shapes that were unorthodox, unusual. And as more I learned about the functional side of things and the more vested I became with engineering, I realized that first and foremost, they need to be strong, safe, and light. So these are the three components that guide the design of the rims, in my opinion, and within the confines of the safety parameters, of the strength parameters, and of the lightweight parameters, you create a shape that ticks those three boxes but still somehow manages to look exciting. So for the NILU, I always thought of, the body of the car is flowing and curvaceous enough. The wheels have to kind of carry that curvature and that organic flow by kind of juxtaposing something more mechanical, more technical, and more geometric. However, when you do a simple geometric shape, more often than not, it's also heavier than it could be because it's not porous enough. And I wanted to find ways to take all the extra material out without compromising the purity and the kind of basic first read. So when you see the rims from side view, when you're looking at the car, they look very kind of normal, 5-spoke wheels, like any child would draw a rim. But as you get closer, you realize that they have been cross-drilled, machined, all the excess weight carved out. This is a Boolean approach to design, where you take one large volume and you apply a set of mathematical operations to it, which include carving things out, subtracting one shape from another shape. If you imagine a bowl of ice cream and you have a spoon and you can carve that ice cream away with your spoon, that's a Boolean operation of subtraction. So if you imagine in the same way a solid chunk of metal, which is the drum from which the wheel is going to be made, cutting out the pizza holes, the slices, that's the first Boolean operation to create a 5-spoke wheel. But I took it much, much further and I carved out from unusual directions to create, let's say, simple, pure first read, but a much more complex and a much more intricate second and third read. So lightweight on the one hand, but also very puristic and basic on the other hand.
And I know we had a tough time finding a supplier who was able to actually mill that because we needed to get in there from the front and the back. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, the supplier did play a crucial role because I already had a design that I wanted to execute, and most of the suppliers said, no way, we're not going to be able to reach all of those crazy pockets. And there was one supplier, a renowned wheel manufacturer from Italy, that took on the challenge and came up with a very intricate and unusual way of machining these wheels and delivered them as one piece, ultra lightweight, forged metal wheels for us with a very unexpected machining path that included both cutting from the front, but also from the back and from the sides. It's kind of a 360-degree machining job to get all the intricacy of these rims produced in reality.
And I think that the 5 spokes was a must for you. Is that right?
5 spokes was kind of the must, at least for our very first car. There are a few things that I wanted to keep as basic as possible, and 5-spoke wheels to me remind me of, I don't know, just default Converse shoes, for example, something that is so pure, so simple that you could afford wearing it with, I don't know, a pair of shorts at the gym or with a pair of slacks at the business meeting. So it's kind of a very versatile, one size fits all idea of just most pure, most basic shape for the wheel. Inspired by 1970s magnesium wheels that started popping up on racing cars of that era, but also by Ken Block and his 5 spokes that he had on his rally cars. So a bunch of different inspirations, some JDM, some European racing, some Ken Block, but most of all, the simplest, most pure shape for a wheel, a 5-spoke.
Do we want to talk about the tires a little bit as well?
Yeah, so on our show car, we were running 325/30 Michelin Cup 2Rs in the rear, 265, what was it, 35/20s in the front, Cup 2Rs as well. For our prototype and the production car, we're probably going to go up in width on the rear tire. So
And
that's going to
just
be
to
exciting.
confirm, that's Michelin.
That's Michelin.
Yeah.
That's Michelin. We're going to go up to 345 rears, which is going to give the car even better stance from the rear 3/4 views, but obviously also a bigger contact patch and more traction out of corners. So yeah, wonderful tires, adding a lot to the aesthetics. I'm a big fan of these racing labels on the tires. They also improve the stance and look mean and purposeful. Yeah, so it's a complete package. The whole exterior, all the volumes, all the curves, the proportions of the car, they all work to the wheels, and the wheels are there to carry that visual identity.
We've received a lot of comments about the wheelbase and how snug it is. Can you comment to that a little bit?
Well, the proportions of the car, especially the length, are very straightforward. You have the occupant package, you have the crash zones in the front, you have your fuel tank, your engine, your transmission. And if you add those items up, you always end up with something like 2750 millimeters wheelbase for most hypercars. So they're all roughly in the same range. We have a V12, so it's a relatively long engine. So keeping the wheelbase at 2750 was a bit of a challenge, but we managed. But it's what the design does around that wheelbase that really matters. It's how you place your volumes, how you place the corners of the car, where you accentuate those volumes. This, let's say, design trickery can make the car look longer than it actually is, shorter than it actually is, or just right. And I did my absolute best to make sure that the volumes of the car are both engineering and packaging wise as healthy as possible, but also visually create a tight fit, shrink wrapped, beautifully compact volume on that 2750 wheelbase.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you for this enlightening talk today. And if you guys want to know anything in particular, please post questions in the comments section below.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
So, Sheena, last time we talked about the wheels, and there's something that's really not clear to me still. We talked about cutting weight out from the wheels. And I understand that lightweighting the car has an impact, an important impact on performance, but it just seems like other areas of the car would be more productive to cut weight on rather than the wheels. So why are the wheels the center of attention here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the conventional idea would be you save weight, it's better for the car, right? There's less mass to throw around. The car is more efficient. It goes faster, consumes less energy. It's just an all-around better choice. Lighter car, always better. But especially when it comes to the wheels, because wheels are a rotational mass. So when they rotate, they capture a lot of energy. And the more mass that is rotating, the more spinning mass you have, the bigger this gyroscope effect. So effectively, the handling of the car really takes a hit when the wheels are heavier than they need to be. It takes a lot more energy to turn the axis of rotation for a spinning wheel if it's heavy. So saving mass on wheels, I heard one engineer say before that it's 7 times as valuable as saving the same amount of mass elsewhere on the car. Unsprung mass is really key to handling feel, to the kind of precision of the chassis and the way it gives you feedback as a driver, but also the outright performance. That, by the way, has been challenged recently. I saw a couple of videos on YouTube that challenged the outright gain of efficiency from reducing the mass on the wheels. But one thing that can't be challenged is the feel, the driving dynamics and the feel that you get, the feedback from the road that you get with lighter wheels is just superior. So yeah, a gram saved is a gram saved, except for with the wheels, it's kind of like 7 times as much.
So why not carbon wheels then?
Also a really good question and a challenging one. So carbon wheels are obviously very impressive, incredibly lightweight. You do end up saving about, I would say, another 15-20% of weight if you go towards carbon. For me, though, if we do carbon wheels in the future, they would have to be done with the utmost safety standards, and safety becomes a real critical issue because carbon does not take impact as well as alloys do. It is more brittle. It gets to the breaking point is very high, but when it gets to a breaking point, it can be dangerous. And we will only venture into the carbon wheel territory once we are ready to tackle that challenge. Our first set of wheels are going to be setting standards as far as lightweighting is concerned for alloy wheels. Carbon wheels are going to be a summit that will conquer one other day.
Okay. I want to talk briefly about specs for a second, or I should say customization, because we
Right.
have been asked this question by customers, and I know that we don't have this fully outlined yet. So we don't know yet all of the elements that will be customizable in the car. But can you talk a little bit about what you're thinking when it comes to the wheels? Is this going to be customizable?
Oh, absolutely. Our show car had ceramic coated white wheels. We have since changed them for black, jet black wheels. They look wonderful too. Personally, I'm a big fan of natural finish. So every material without paint and without other decorative coatings should look amazing in its own right. So exposing the alloy of the wheel will also be an option with satin finish. We could also explore some very special treatments for some of our select customers, but we will definitely offer both coatings and natural finishes for the wheels.
Okay. And before we end this conversation for the second time, I just want to talk about the brakes for a minute.
Right.
What brakes are we? I know which brakes we're using, but I want you to tell everyone out there what are the brakes on the car.
Well, Brembo has been a great supporter of our company. They've supported our show car build by providing these amazing carbon ceramic brakes, in fact, prototype brakes that weren't even on the market just yet. And we're continuing our relationship with Brembo and working towards production. I'm not ready to speak of the final specs, but they will be state of the art. And they are already amazing on our show car, and just wait for what's next.
Awesome. And with that, I think we can end
For the second time.
for the second time this
Finally
conversation.
ticked all the boxes.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.